Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Hakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Hey, Shalom. This lesson, just going into Esau, Edom, the tensions that we see today, which Iran, U.S., it's going to lead into a global war, which is going to bring about which we are in the end times, but this war is going to bring about the war of all wars. It's going to bring about the thermonuclear destruction of Babylon the Great. And Salakia, I forgot to mention, Shabbat Shalom. These are beautiful, exciting times. While, people that you're around, they're seeing these things happening, and they're asking, what's going to happen? What's next? What's this? Are we going to war? This, that, whatever. And it's exciting to see these people that we're around too, because they have no idea what's going on, why these things are happening, and what's getting ready to take place. They have no idea about the MOTB. They have no idea about the Israelites, they have no idea about the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahweh, and his son Yahushai. They have no clue about anything. They have no clue about what's really important, and they're getting ready to find out the hard way. But anyway, this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. And this happened after the siege of Jerusalem. We fell away. The Israelites that were in Jerusalem were scattered, into all different, mostly into the western interiors of Africa. We left off we fell away from our heritage. No longer, coming into this day, we had no idea that we were Israelites. We had no idea of our language. We had no idea of the name of our power, which the name is Yahweh, and his son's name, Yahushai. And Yahweh meaning he to be, he exists. And Yahushai meaning he saves, he delivers. We had no idea about these names, these things, the power within these names. We had no idea who salvation was for. We were completely in the dark, completely clueless in this land of darkness. We were dry bones. And now we've been revived. We've been brought back to life in these last days through the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And in these last days, well, I'll just continue reading. And except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And in these last days, the son of perdition, the man of sin, is being revealed. This is happening alongside the Israelite awakening. The Israelites awakening to who they truly are, the Israelites, and the nemesis of the Israelites, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is being revealed. So you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, you are all Israelites. And whatever other nations we may be scattered amongst, even amongst the Edomites, even amongst the so-called white man, there's Israelites. The same thing vice versa. There's Edomites scattered amongst the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom. There's Edomites that look like, your so-called black man, that look like your so-called Mexican, that look like your so-called Native American. So this isn't a skin color thing, but this is based on faith, based on the evidence that's presented through the scriptures. So this son of perdition, this man of sin that's being revealed in the last days, who the world's been given into the hands of. This is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, who's taken peace from the world. So, again, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Oops, what's going on? I'm not really, dang, okay. What? All right. Hey, I'm still getting used to this little split screen thing, but I like it. I like it. It helps so I don't have to switch back and forth with the screens. I just got everything right here. So, again, or going into verse 4, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped. So he puts himself above the Most High. He puts himself above the people of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which are the Israelites. The Israelites are a holy people. They're chosen by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and they're above all the nations. So he puts himself, this man being the basis of all men, the lowest of the low, the lowest of all nations, has propped himself up, boasted himself to be the best of everything, better than Yahweh Bashem Yahushai himself. Which, this is the spirit that the Heavenly Father gave these people. So who exposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now ultimately, with this MOTB, that micro C-hip that's coming, this is him going to put himself, his C-hip in you, so you're going to bow down to it, you're going to take it. But that's not the point of this lesson. This lesson is basically, it started off, what is the events that led to the tensions that we see today between Iran and America? Because a lot of, a guy at work was asking me yesterday, he's like, I don't understand why the countries have this kind of tension. Like, I don't understand. And even myself was like, man, I gotta look this up. Because I know a little bit. I know a little bit, but if you know Babylon the Great's history, this will all make sense. It's like, oh, Babylon's just been doing what Babylon's been doing. So this man of sin is being revealed, and so going to go read a few more scriptures, get a little backstory on Esau. This is Genesis 25:25. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, which means wasted away is he. He came out red all over. He looked like a premature baby or a stillborn baby. He had no pigment in his skin, and his blood was showing through. Not that he was. It's not saying that he was hairy in this. It's saying that it's comparing it to the garments that were dyed red back then. He came out red like that. Verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Now, if you look at the word for cunning hunter, that means H3045, Yadai, meaning to be knowledgeable and wise. When you go into it, to know, to perceive, to know by experience, to know how to be skillful. So he's a very skillful hunter. And this is a part of Esau's blessing, what he was born with. And this has been passed down through his generations or through his lineage. They're very cunning hunters, very knowledgeable. And this knowledge is not used for righteousness. This knowledge is used for wickedness. When you're a very knowledgeable, cunning hunter, like he has like the duck call, that's a very deceptive thing. Knowledge in hunting is not just, you able to shoot an arrow real well. It comes with deception, disguise, things is like that. Things like that. Able to disguise yourself. He has like different scents that he can come up with. Can hide his scent. Can smell like a certain animal. Can disguise himself like a certain animal. Can make the calls of that certain animal. So Esau Edom has been able to use these kind of things, this kind of knowledgeable hunting in different ways. And this has gone beyond just hunting animals. This has gone into hunting souls, hunting people. Using his means to using what he's learned how to do by using deceptive means. He wants something that you got, some resources that you got on your land. Well, he's going to come with deceptive means to come and get it. So Esau being a cunning hunter. And also, I'm going to jump to Genesis 27:39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. So your dwelling, you're gonna have the which which Jacob, so like which Jacob already received the blessing at this time. He already received the best blessing, the best you can get. So this is what Esau got, was the runner-up prize. Yeah, you're gonna get the fatness of the earth. You're gonna get you're gonna get the best places on the earth. But really, hey, your brother Jacob, he has all the best stuff. He has everything, and he's gonna be blessed. So, but in the meantime, hey, you're gonna get that too. But yours is gonna be more like, counterfeit. Jacob's blessing is gonna be forever. So this is again Genesis 27:39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So when you're going to have the dominion, when it's going to be your time to rule, which happened after the death of King Solomon, Esau, Edom, they rebelled, they broke the yoke off, and then from then on, starting with the Greeks, starting with Alexander the Great, or Alexander the Greek, I should say, that's is when the Edomites began to really rule on the earth. So what you're seeing today. Shit. So by your swords, how you gonna get all this fatness of the land? How you gonna get the fattest places on the earth? Through your sword. So you're gonna get everything through the sword. So let's see here. Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, We are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai of hosts, They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, the people against whom Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai have indignation forever. So this is the people. This is Esau, Edom. Yeah, their their blessing, I should say, is the sword. They're wherever. What this is saying is, wherever they go, they're the border of wickedness. Wherever they go, wickedness follows. So wherever they at, a wickedness starts springing up, starts popping up. And last one before I get into this is Psalms 140, and I'll start at verse 1. Deliver me, O Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. So save me from the wicked, from the evil man, from the violent man, the man that got everything by his sword, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. So they're constantly having different imaginings. They say there's another scripture that says like they get no sleep unless they have done wickedness. Their sleep is taken away from them. Roughly paraphrasing, unless they have done some wickedness. And they're constantly imagining these wicked things, how to get somebody else's land, how to get some resources from somebody else. And this thing that's coming, the MOTB, that's getting ready to be implemented, that's going to be made mandatory, this is another one of his imaginings. How to get everybody to bow down to me. How to get everybody to think, to bow down to me, to take my mark, and to look at me as a god. This is part of his imaginings, but this is the point being his, which imagine mischiefs in their heart, and continually are they gathered together for war. And Esau, Edom is continually gathered together for war. And what you're going to see here in the chat GPT. So I asked it, what events led to the tensions, which I should say tensions, between the U.S. and Iran? And what's this thing doing? The tension between the United States and Iran is rooted in a complex history of political, economic, religious, and military events spanning over 7 decades. So it's 2025. This is going back into the 50s, which it probably goes back further than that. But these are the modern events. Here are the key events that led to and escalated this tension. In 1953, the CIA-backed coup operation, or the 1953 CIA-backed coup. So you're going to see, and all throughout the history of the U.S., Babylon the Great has, wherever they've been behind some kind of coup, some kind of overthrow, some kind of whatever, some kind of backing rebel groups, which I also have this in the chat. But this operation was called Operation Ajax. So as the background, Iran's Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the Iranian oil industry previously controlled by British interests. So it's called the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. So they had a deal with British interests, and it's supposed, from the looks of it, they cut ties with them and made it Iran cut ties with the British, and the Brits weren't too happy about it. So the U.S. ruled. The U.S. and U.K. orchestrated a coup to remove Mossadegh and restore the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, to power. This is an impact fostered deep Iranian resentment towards the U.S. interference in its sovereignty. So they were a sovereign country, and then the U.S., they came in, nah, this guy's better. And what is that? He's going to do what we want him to do. So they going around installing puppet leaders. This is a key characteristic of what Esau Edom has done. Even going back into the Roman ages. Hey, look at King Herod. He ruled over the Jews at the time, the southern kingdom. And guess what? He was an Edomite. He was a puppet leader that was installed. And for you that think that the Edomites were done away with after John Hyrcanus, when you look at the history of Herod the Great, it says Herod the Idumean. So the Edomites were still around then, and the Edomites are still around today. They're just not calling themselves the Edomites. But this is being revealed in these last days. So this is number 2, support for the Shah's regime, 1953 through 1979. So about, what is that? Roughly 26 years. So the U.S. supported the Shah, who ruled as an autocratic monarch. So the U.S. is supporting him, this Shah, but what is it? What is it really? This is a puppet leader. Anybody who the U.S. really supports, they're a puppet. The Shah's regime was widely seen as oppressive and corrupt, with brutal secret police, Sabak, trained by the CIA. So let's go to this real quick. This is Iraq. That's not what I'm trying to. Chapter 10. Let's start at verse 2. It says, Sirach chapter 10 and verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So, as the judge of the people, the leader of the people, who the U.S., they installed, they wanted this Shah back in there so he could do their will. And what does this say? The Shah's regime was widely seen as oppressive and corrupt. Stop doing that. Why is this? I'm going to figure this out. But anyway, Salaki, I'm having a little, this wasn't doing this the other day, so I'm not really sure if I'm not really sure what's going on. It's not even doing it every time I touch on the screen. But as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. So if the ruler is corrupt, so is everybody that's going to be under him. And everybody's going to be oppressed. And also, what is that scripture? How it goes? When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in rulership, the people mourn. So the people are mourning at this point. So the Shah's regime was widely seen as oppressive and corrupt. The brutal secret police, trained by the CIA. So they had CIA training. how to oppress people, how to do this and that, how to torture. You see the same things today. Now the police here in Babylon the Great are trained by IDF. And they're very brutal. So continuing on, modernization efforts alienated traditional and religious sectors of Iranian society. So everything you alienate your people. The people mourn. Now everything becomes how do you say everything becomes worse. Everything sucks now. You come in, you tell the people they can't do this no more. We're gonna do like this. We're gonna live like the Americans, this and that, whatever. This is it. This is also that cup that Babylon has that made everybody drunk. The Iranian Revolution in 1979, a popular uprising largely driven by Islamic clerics led by Ayatollah Khomeini, overthrew the Shah. Iran became an Islamic republic, and anti-American sentiment surged. So now it flipped. There was another uprising. They got that Shah out of there, and now it's a different one. And now, because of what they've done, this is all because of Babylon the Great. So we hate this whore. So let me go to this here. This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 2. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. So you've been made small, meaning insignificant. You are very low to them. You're hated around the world. You're greatly despised. Greatly despised. Look at that. H959 Bazah. Despise, disdain, to think, to scorn, a vile person, to hold in contempt. Ooh, vile, worthless. Ooh, you're despicable. Well, they're like Daffy Duck. Anyway, slag it. But you are hated all around the world for the things that you've done like this. And this is just one thing that Babylon the Great has done. Which this isn't just, one thing here, but this is several events. You ruined people's lives, destroyed families, destroyed worlds, and this is just in one country. Look at what you've done to the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans here. You have a history of this. This is your track record. You are a vile, worthless whore. That says number 4, the U.S. Embassy hostage crisis, 1979 to 81. The Iranian students seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. The crisis deeply damaged U.S.-Iran relations and led to a severance of diplomatic ties. The U.S. imposed economic sanctions. The Iran-Iraq War in 1980 through 88. The U.S. supported Saddam Hussein's Iraq indirectly and later directly during the war, despite Iraq using chemical weapons. Iran saw this as U.S. hostility towards the Islamic Republic. And look, this is also somebody that Saddam Hussein. And at this point, he's a good guy. He's an American asset at this point. And then in 2000, he's a bad guy. He has weapons of mass destruction. We got to get rid of him. This and that, whatever. It's the same thing being played out over and over again. The U.S. sets somebody up. They play out what the U.S. wants. The U.S. gets rid of them. This is number 6, the tanker war and downing of Iran Flight 655. Says during the Iran-Iraq War, the U.S. Navy intervened in the Persian Gulf to protect oil shipments. In 1988, the U.S. mistakenly shot down Iran Flight 655, killing 290 civilians. This incident fueled Iranian anger and mistrust. So, man, all kinds of events happening around it. So it's like when you look at this, it's like, oh no, I can kind of see why they hate this place. Yeah, I get it, because once again, going to the scriptures, like a whorish woman wipes her mouth, roughly paraphrasing, she wipes her mouth and says, I have done no wrong. So this place, being that whore that it is It's done all kinds of wrongdoings all around the world and been like, I ain't done nothing. Meanwhile, there's fucking all kinds of blood on your hands. The U.S. accusations of terrorism support, which you wanted to talk, 1980s to present, the U.S. accuses Iran of backing Hezbollah, Hamas, and Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria. Iran views these groups as part of its axis of resistance against Israel and Western influence. Number 8, Iran's nuclear program. In the 2000s, Iran's nuclear ambitions became a central concern for the U.S. The U.S. imposed crippling sanctions and led global efforts to curb Iran's enrichment program. In 2015, Iran's nuclear deal, JCPOA, was signed under Obama to restrict Iran's nuclear capabilities in exchange for sanctions relief. So they've been so worried about Iran getting nuclear weapons and this and that, whatever. But they're going to use all this stuff to try to, what you're seeing today, they're trying to install another leader in Iran that will go with their beliefs, would go with what they want them to do. So the U.S. withdrawal from the JCPOA in 2018. Under President Trump, the U.S. withdrew from the nuclear deal and imposed maximum pressure sanctions. Iran resumed parts of its nuclear program and increased regional aggression. Assassinations and retaliations in 2020. The U.S. drone strike killed Qasem Soleimani, which that wasn't 2020, so that was during the lockdowns. Qasem Soleimani, Iran's top general. Iran responded with missile attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq and increased proxy attacks. Tensions nearly escalated into open war. So the tensions are constantly going up until there's going to be an all-out war, and it's going to be in the Valley of Yehoshaphat, which is in the Middle East. So all this is focused on Iran. Regional proxy conflicts. Iran and the U.S. backed opposing sides in Syria. The U.S. versus Iran-backed Assad. Yemen, U.S.-backed Saudi coalition versus Iran-backed Houthis. Lebanon and Iraq, Iranian militias versus U.S. interests. So Iran's ballistic missile program and drone warfare have also heightened tensions. So the tensions are continually rising. Israel and Abraham Accords, 2020, Iran used Israel and its growing U.S.-aligned Arab alliances, UAE and Bahrain, as an existential threat. Tensions flare over Iran's role in Gaza, Hezbollah, and Syria, with frequent Israeli-U.S. coordination against Iranian assets. Ongoing sanctions and cyber conflict. Sanctions continue to cripple Iran's economy. Cyber warfare, including the Stuxnet attack on Iranian nuclear facilities, allegedly by U.S. and Israel, adds a new front. Summary: the tension is a product of a deep-seated historical grievances, conflicting geopolitical interests, nuclear concerns, and military confrontations. The relationship remains volatile, with occasional diplomatic engagement overshadowed by long-standing mistrust and hostility. So this is a long, ongoing thing, and it's gonna keep going until it goes out in a full-out war. So the next question I asked was, how many countries has the U.S. staged coups? It says the United States has been involved in dozens of coups, regime changes, or covert interventions in foreign governments since the early 20th century, especially through the CIA after World War II. The exact number varies depending on definitions, e.g., direct military coups versus covert support versus political subversion. But credible historical sources and declassified documents point to at least 30 to 50 countries where the U.S. has either staged, supported, or helped enable coups. So the U.S. has been involved, and not to mention other countries, but we're focusing on Babylon the Great here, this whore. All the things that you've been involved in your own self-interest. So here's a breakdown of notable U.S. involved coups or regime change operations organized by region. So in Latin America in 1954, in Guatemala, the CIA-backed coup against Jacob Arbenz. In Chile, 1973, supported Pinochet's coup against Salvador Allende. In Brazil, 1964, backed military coup against Yao Guyart. Argentina, 1976, supported military junta, indirect involvement. Bolivia, 1971, CIA involved in military coup. Nicaragua in the 1980s, funded Contra rebels against the Sandinista government. Honduras in 2009, this is recent, U.S. gave tacit support to military ousting of Manuel Zelaya. El Salvador in the 1980s, funded military dictatorship and death squads. In Panama, 1989, invasion to remove Noriega. Operation Just Cause. Dominican Republic in 1965, U.S. military invention after Juan Bosch was ousted. In Haiti, 1991, and in 2004, involvement in both coups against President Aristide. So they've been involved, and that's just in Latin America. We're going to the Middle East and North Africa now. Iran in 1953. I'm just going to speed it up because, I'm kind of short on time. This is Iran, 1953. Operation Ajax. Iraq, 1963. CIA helped the Ba'ath Party take power, and later Saddam Hussein. In Libya, 2011, led intervention backed by U.S. led to Gaddafi's fall, which the country's been in hell since then. In Syria, 1957, a failed coup attempt. In 2013, in Egypt, the U.S. continued aid despite military coup against Morsi. Lebanon, 1958, U.S. military intervention during political crisis. So they've just been involved in all kinds of things. So this is in Vietnam, 1963, backed coup against President Diem. Indonesia, supported military purge and coup against Sukarno. Mass killings followed. In Pakistan, 1977, supported General Zia, coup against Bhutto. Thailand, multiple times, U.S. supported anti-communist coups during Cold War. Laos in the 50s and 60s, involved in multiple coups during the Secret War. South Korea, 1961, tacit support of Park Chung-hee's coup. But this has been involved in all kinds of things, even Africa. Congo, 1960-65, backed Mobutu in overthrow and execution of Patrice Lumumba. In Ghana, 1966, supported military coup against Kwame Nkrumah. Libya, in 1969 and 2011, long-term efforts against Gaddafi, culminating in, I've read that earlier. In Sudan in 1971, Slovakia. Angola in the 1970s and 80s, backed anti-government rebels against the MPLA, and this is all to get to their own interests. So in Europe, in Greece in 1967, support military junta that took power. Ukraine in 2014, U.S. supported pro-Western elements, debated whether it was a coup or an uprising. You look at Zelensky, that is a puppet they set up there. That nigga is just a comedian. In Italy in the 1948s through 60s, covert CIA funding to prevent communist election victories. So the estimated summary, the estimate summary confirmed coups, regime change operations 30 to 40, somewhere around there. Indirect or suspected involvement 10 to 20 or more. Roughly 40 to 60 countries impacted by some form of U.S. backed or influenced regime change. And it gives you the sources, you know. But that's it. You know, you had your hand in everything. You've done all kinds of wickedness throughout the earth, and hey, you know, what's coming to you, Babylon the Great, is well deserved, and not for any of this. All these events that you've done is going to cause the world to hate you. But what's really coming is because of what you've done to the Israelites, what you've done to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai's chosen, the apple of his eye. You know, just so it's clear, you know, it's because of what you've done. You laid hands on the apple of the Lord's eye. So fuck you, Esau. Your end is coming to end. Watch it for thee. I hope the Lord willing this is edifying. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Shabbat Shalom.